John chapter 1 verse 19 to 23 part 2. Let me read English Standard Version. And this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Christ." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." So they said to him, "Who are you? We need to give an answer to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness. Make straight the way of the Lord, as the prophet Isaiah said." Today's point is the John the Baptist's self-discovery and spiritual self-esteem. John the Baptist expresses himself in verse 23, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness. Make straight the way of the Lord, as the prophet Isaiah said." In Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3 to 4, Isaiah writes, "A voice cries, in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain." The prophet Isaiah hears the voice of the crying one. This voice of the crying one is the sound of a heavenly messenger or angel from the heaven, and what he cries out is a prophecy that on the surface the Israelites will end their captivity in Babylon and return to Jerusalem, making the way back flat. At that time, the way back from Babylon to Jerusalem was a severe, unmaintained road lined with mountains and valleys. However, Isaiah continues his prophecy, implying that the end of this road is not only Jerusalem, but also Christ, who will come. So literally, it means to flatten the way back to Jerusalem from Babylon, but metaphorically and typically, it can also mean to flatten the way for people to return to Christ. Using this very content, John the Baptist identifies himself as a messenger of God, a messenger of heaven, who plays a role in smoothing the way for people to return to Christ. This is very surprising because, in fact, he was a descendant of Aaron, the high priest, but he did not belong to the group that most of the priests and Levites at the time belonged to, nor did he receive their protection. He also did not serve as a religious and customary priesthood as they practiced it. Considering his object reality and his situation, he was just nobody with no affiliation and no education. However, he was carrying out very special and peculiar ministry that God had planned for him and revealed to him. And he was practicing his own ministry independently. John the Baptist did not overestimate and bluff himself, but he did not diminish and ridicule himself. Rather, it would be fair to say that his spiritual self-esteem was sky high. "No one reveals my identity and my calling as God's people. I ask God for myself, associate with God, and discover." I believe that John the Baptist would have discovered his identity in this way, and through that discovery, he gained a high spiritual self-esteem that no one can break down. Aren't you living under the shadow without discovering the precious things that God has planned through you? Let's go up to where we should be. God wants to use us.